Hey all, new day, new verses. We continue on into Matthew 26. Today we are doing verses 57 through 68, Jesus before the council. I wanted to apologize for not getting out the last 2 days. Admittedly, on Wednesday I just didn't want to do it, and Thursday the technology didn't play well, but today I am glad to be doing it and realizing that it is a blessing to get to do this. So let's dig on into verse 57, shall we? Here we go. Then the people who had arrested Jesus led him before the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of religious law and the elders had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and came to the high priest's courtyard. He went and sat with the guards and waited to see how it all would end. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find witnesses who would lie about Jesus, so they could put him to death. Even though they found many who agreed to give false witness, they could not use anyone's testimony. Finally, 2 men came forward, who declared, "This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days." Then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself?" But Jesus remained silent. Then the high priest said to him, "I demand, in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus replied, "You have said it. And in the future you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand, and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror, and said, "Blasphemy! What do we need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?" "Guilty," they shouted. "He deserves to die." Then they began to spit in Jesus' face and beat him with their fists. And some slapped him, jeering, "Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who hit you that time?" This section here, it had a lot of things that have stuck out to me playing through it the last couple of days. Like the fact that Peter goes in expecting to see how it will end, and this is not even close to the end. This is the beginning of that act moment where it's going to shift from the worst of the worst being poured out to God's response of pouring out mercy upon mercy and pouring out his best. And it's an absolutely beautiful gift to do. The fact that they're trying to pull together all these people who are going to lie about him, and they can't use any testimony because, well, we can prove it false. Because falsehoods are always found out, and truth will always win out. The fact that they finally get 2 men to come forward, witnesses, which is this beautiful idea of the fact that when you truly stand as witness for either, well, good or ill, how your life reflects what you truly believe. And the fact that they come forward with this man, "I will destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days." And it had me thinking about Exodus for a time, with God calling his people to the mountain and saying, "Come up to me." And the people of Israel being terrified and refusing to go up, in fear, staying down, refusing, just absolutely terrified of the thought of it. Then God saying, "Okay, I will come down." And instead he goes from the top of the mountain, he comes down. He comes to the temple, to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, that Moses gets the plans for, and they build it. And we see in the end of Exodus, they're not really able to go in. And in the end of Leviticus, Moses is able to go in and be in the presence of God again. And it's this beautiful place of God getting closer and nearer. And with Solomon's temple, this place that David designed and put forward, and, Solomon finished off. And it's this place that was devoted as a bit of worship. And there was this section where the handles, the bars that were attached to the Ark of the Covenant were sticking out from the curtain. And, first part of me was thinking, okay, is this just Solomon showing very early on that he didn't actually care about what happened in God's temple? Or is this God using everything to show that he's on his way through? To show that he's breaking through even that curtain that separates the Holy of Holies? That he wants to draw us near, so that when we see the veil finally torn, it is this prime fullness of, okay, if you won't come to me, I will come to you, because I want to be with you. I want you to be near me. This invitation toward intimate relationship. When saying it will break it down in 3 days, well, it's not about Herod's temple. It's about where the Holy Spirit dwells, when he lives in us. Our lives devoted to him, an offering to him, because they're not ours in the first place. Where, that bit of him will be destroyed. The serpent will strike his heel when the serpent's head is crushed. And yet, God brings him back to life. A truly innocent one being raised so that all is forgiven. Dying in our place so that when they shout out guilty, that he deserves to die, what they're speaking over Jesus is what is truly over us, that we are guilty. We are guilty of failures, of falls, inconsequential or not, as we see them, mistakes or not. I mean, Leviticus has plenty of laws in it about accidental prayers and saying, well, whether you intended to do it or not, you did it. And whether you meant to cause harm or not, you did. Now that you know, what are you going to do about it? And it's this constant place of saying, let's try and build a deeper relationship with God, because we are guilty. We're guilty of these broken-hearted moments that many we don't even try to do. But we dash and we shatter and we hurt and we twist, and we don't realize that we are stabbing our neighbor, our brother, our friend. Not because we are cold or cruel, but because we are lost and in a world of darkness and isolation. One where it is hard to reach out to anyone because of how much we have been taught by society and our own pain to be afraid. Afraid of each other, afraid of hope, afraid of the idea that there could be something different, a different way of doing it. And so here Jesus is taking that guilty verdict, that he deserves to die, that we deserve to die. Because, there's often that question, well, how could a good God allow such evil to happen in this world? Because if God is going to take out what does evil in this world, we do not exist. Because we do the evil. Even when we don't try to. Popular culture has understood this for a very long time. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. We understand it on a surface level, but we do not truly think about the fact that try as we might, and it's not about trying to appease everyone either. Far from it. It's about doing what God tells you to do. If he says stand here, stand here. When he says love, love. Agape love. Love that says, I will see you for your weakness. Not to look down on you, but to remember that we both need the Lord to make us strong. Because we have heartache, and we have hurt, and we have pain. And there are things that keep us up in places that we don't talk about, that he is pouring healing ointment on when we surrender it to him. So that we are washed white as snow by the power of his blood. A place of surrender, perfect surrender by laying it all down. So there's this beautiful place where it's, are you the Messiah, the Son of God? You've said it. Yes, he is. And from this point forward, we're going to see God radically shift how it works. Starting to show what real God math looks like. Where beauty is traded for ashes. And where words can make dry bones come to life. Where a flask of oil can pour into many containers until the containers run out before the oil does. The bread comes from heaven and water comes from rocks. This beautiful place that seems completely illogical when looking at it by the world math. The world math that says get mine before they get theirs. The world math that says, well, they've betrayed me before, I shouldn't trust anyone because I'll just get hurt again. The human math that says, well, I've been a victim all my life, so I'm always a victim. I've been a villain all my life, so I'm always a villain. I've had to be the hero all my life, so is that what I'm damned to be? This is the human world math that breaks the heart and rends the soul. The human world math that turns us into Picasso people. Of broken images, trying to understand what it is to bear a real human image. To bear the image we are supposed to. And when we follow God math, the math that says beauty can be traded for ashes in a place of surrender, that a bare heart that hides nothing will receive pure peace. This is the trust that is required, and it is both terrifying and exhilarating, and it is what I believe is the definition of awe that we have lost over time. The same kind of definition of awe that comes from looking at a sunset or a field of stars. Taking in a moment to realize how small a thing is man, and yet how beautiful that he cares. about the number of hairs on your head, about the tears that have fallen from your eyes, about the struggles that have devastated you. They are all known. Not one is cast aside, not one is forgotten, not one is whitewashed. Each seen, each felt, each experienced, each known intimately when this cry out of guilty was heard. Because it is the guilt of those who inflicted it. And it's the guilt of those who try as they might only add to the pain. Because we don't know any other way. And I am drawn back to the word where it says, well, no one's going to know if we don't tell them. And it is all in here. A beautiful love letter saying, if you will but put down the sword, put down your pain, even just as an offering to say, I have nothing but me. And I give it all. Because in the end, that is all we have. Our gifts, our hopes, our dreams, the very nature of what makes us unique is our muchness. And this we are meant to devote to God anyway. That is what it is to Shema. This is the beautiful invitation of saying, find peace, because you are loved and meant to rest. So that even when you are doing much that changes the world a little bit at a time, starting in the core of us, His Spirit in us changing who we are so that we need to change the world around us just by doing as He says. I hate that people litter. Okay, go clean it up. If it's something that truly draws your ire, ask God what you can do about it. Because holding on to anger like that is like holding on to the pain. Eventually it will harm. And I believe it's Psalms that says human anger is designed to show God's glory. Maybe it's a chance to point at what God wants to use you for. So that it is not a place of hatred from righteous anger turned bitter. It is a place of saying, okay, God, this stirs in me something. Why? You made me, you made my heart, you made my soul, my reactions, what makes me tick. So why this? A place of surrendering everything, the whole of the muchness, in peace and in joy, because He loves us so. That is the God we serve, the God who invites us in daily, moment by moment, to have peace. Shalom, peace, wholeness, completeness, rest. And it's all just out of saying, I trust you, and I want your way of doing it more than mine. I want to surrender everything over, because the human way of doing it inevitably leaves us alone and lost in a wilderness, saying, where do we go from here? I will see you guys either tomorrow or Monday when we pick up Peter Denies Jesus and the place of heart-rending pain where we struggle against God and where sometimes He will hip check us like Jacob to remind us that He's got us and that when we hold on tightly, He'll see us through, even if it hurts a little. I'll see you then.